Hi, I'm Michelle Olivier, and you're listening to Hey, I Want Your Job, the podcast that looks at amazing jobs and what it takes to get them. Welcome to a very exciting and special episode of Hey, I Want Your Job, where I have not one, not two, but not three, but four people who all have way fucking cooler jobs than I do. I'm not going to lie. So let's go around. Amber, what is your job title?
So I do videography and public relations and production assistant, among a myriad of many different things.
Cat herding. That's a key
yes,
part.
Cat herding is number one on that list. Yes.
Vinny, what is your job title?
I'm the co-creator of Big and Funky Productions.
Tracy, what's your job title?
I've got second billing in this movie that is premiering tonight, and so I'm an actress, and I do admin for an attorney, but that doesn't count because we're not doing that right now. And sorry, I overshare.
Don't you love it when men in the industry talk over you? We'll get to that more in a minute.
They're mansplaining.
Charming. So, on that note, Luke, what is your job title?
My name is Big Luke. I am the other co-owner of Big and Funky Productions. I am an actor. I am the lead writer. I am director and cinematographer.
Okay, so
Beautiful.
There's a lot of cinematographers, all of that. So what do you all actually do collectively?
Big and Funky Productions. Hey, wait, shut up. Big and Funky Productions is a production company that we've produced music videos, movies, a television show called Wrestling with Ghosts, another one called It Happened to Me. And we also do, we're branching into recording not just music videos, but music. We score movies. We have done commercials. We do a little bit of everything, but we put our own spin and flavor on it.
Really bad pro wrestling.
Pro wrestling, as opposed to the really great pro wrestling, which
well,
is very separate.
We got fired from Fox for producing a wrestling show years ago, so that's how we started.
I did portray Fred Rogers as
Fox is not a bad thing, right? In this day and age, like that may be a really good thing to actually put on your resume. Like,
we lead off with it.
I portrayed Nature Boy Fred Rogers.
Nobody cares.
As it wasn't the right thing.
Nobody knows what that means.
So, we have two creators. So I'm going to start with Vinny, and then Big Luke will be your turn. How in the hell did you manage to get into the position where doing this is how you pay your bills?
We are getting to that point. We have made money, but me and Luke, the reason we talk over everybody, not just women, but non-binaries and other men, is because we're the ones that have lost the most money in this as well. We talk over pets and foliage and stuff and small children as well, but we've lost the most money, but the money that does come back to us, we're going to get paid first. But I just got off the phone call today. And Tracy and Amber don't even know this. I only told Luke, but there's a chance that we have an investor for computer generated movie, which is our fourth movie coming out. We're doing this in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which a lot of people may not know, but it's the secret city where they made the bomb that blew up Hiroshima. And so anyway, we're making a movie about that crazy place, and people who are out there who love Oak Ridge want to help make the movie. So we'll get to that, but it's been a labor of love because Luke and I met. We were pro wrestlers, still pro wrestlers. We're a little old now for that kind of shenanigery, but we decided we made a lot of intricate skits and promos and vignettes for pro wrestling. That gave us an opportunity at Fox. We got fired at Fox. We had a podcast that was very successful. I got bored of that podcast and we quit. And at that point, we started doing paranormal television. and going around doing conventions. And that's been a lot of fun too. But the whole time we're doing like music videos for people and comedy skits. And Luke had the great idea. He wanted to do a movie actually years ago. And I was like, a movie? God almighty, dude. I'm swamped as it is because I do a lot of the editing. And COVID hit. And what I heard from the industry insiders were nobody's making anything. And that's when I was like, tell me that story of the hike. Let's get it rolling. And then Luke was like, all right, let's do it. And this was before we even knew. I knew Tracy and Amber. They were friends of mine before, but that was before they were part of our group, which has now become a big kind of thing. And these two women have worked with us a lot. But Luke had a great serious movie called The Hike. We were going to put our third kind of guy in there named Travis to be the love interest for Candy Thompson's character, Robin. He couldn't commit to all the days. So I was put in the lead, and I hate being outdoors. I'm from the East Coast. And so it became a comedy because I was bitching the whole time. Luke is correct. I was falling down outside a lot. I was wearing Converse, basketball sneakers, trying to hike. The entire movie is me falling down.
I've seen it, and that was not my number one takeaway. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I wasn't like, you know what this movie is really about?
Is this guy's
can't
clumsy?
stand up straight. That
He did edit out quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
it's the advantage of being the editor, right?
That's
like
right.
you get to decide how good you look.
I
So
love the fact
why
that
horror comedy? Because I love this niche. Do not get me wrong. Like my father flew when I was living in London. My dad flew all the way from California to go see Piranha's Double D with me together in the theater
Double D.
because it's been like Piranha's 2, I believe, is definitely James Cameron's best film ever, highly underrated. So this is totally my genre, but who the hell is, it sounds like a lot of fun. Let's get blood and guts and smartass comments all in the same place.
And boobs.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to have boobs.
I'll start just real quick, and I'll let Luke finish it because he's to us it was probably horror because it's cheap to make horror movies and we don't have a whole lot of money. And secondly, comedy because everything we do is funny. Even when we try to do serious shit, it comes off comedically, and I think that's why a lot of our stuff is comedic.
You just decide to lean in.
Yeah, lean in. I'll let Luke finish that question, but that's a good question.
Okay, I was born in 1975. And
oh my
as
giddy aunt, we don't have time for this shit.
and as an entirely too young of a man, I remember the first two movies I saw was Airplane and Poltergeist.
Awesome.
And I loved those movies, and I'll still watch those movies constantly. Airplane and Poltergeist. And then a little bit later, I never thought they'd mix together until I saw a movie called Evil Dead 2. And I fell in love with Sam Raimi. And then not too long later, or too far later, a movie called Clerks came out. That movie changed my life again. So I said, these are the guys I worship, is Sam Raimi and Kevin Smith. And so I knew there was a lot of people. See, everybody tries to make movies that everybody will enjoy. But it turned into where horror movies now are like, they're watered down, tame teenage movies. We made a horror comedy movie designed for people between 30 to 50 years old. Not for teenagers, not to be watered down. And we wanted it to be funny. We wanted it to be gross. We wanted it to be a little sexy. We wanted it to make you think. And when it got serious, we wanted it to get serious.
So what is actually, like, what is the scariest film you've ever seen that truly, like, terrified you, if any? Ever? What's the scariest film you've ever seen? Spoiler, it's not The Hike.
The original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
Like number one is like it scared the crap out of me the first time I saw it, and it made me fall in love with 80s slasher films. And so from there, my love just kind of grew for it.
Big Luke?
Poltergeist. It's still great.
The fuck out. I get that. Tracy?
There's this movie called Darkness, I think, where these two teenage kids like do everything right, but they still end up in hell. Spoiler alert, sorry, but it's like a 25-year-old movie.
I was just gonna watch that.
messed me up. And then Event Horizon too, but then I don't like psychological like horror
Ooh,
movies.
Event Horizon's a good call. Good call.
I don't
on that.
like Event Horizon.
And Vinny, how about you?
I don't really get scared at movies. I don't want to sound like Billy Badass. If you put me on top of a building, I'll be screaming and urinating my pants. But I don't really get like I'm scared of heights. But I think Exorcist, I like when they intertwine religious mythology with horror movies, and I like when they get like a little bit of Jesus and devil, and because there's like some history that goes back, and it seems like it's based on something a little bit deeper, and I like when it's that kind of stuff. So I like playing with that type of trope.
I have a question that we'll go to in a sec, but I do just have to put my own plug. Mine has always been Candyman, not because of anything that happens on the screen, but it's the premise that if enough wackadoodles believe in some shit, it can come out of a mirror and kill your ass. That is terrifying as an idea.
Filmed about 2 miles from where I grew up.
Oh, so you're from Chi. So yeah.
Yeah.
I got lost as shit one time in Chicago trying to find Midway and
I'm
wound
sorry.
up at those projects. And it was like nothing was scarier as a white college kid in that area. But now my question off of that, so you said you like it when there's like some history and ideally some religious undertones or overt content. In The Hike, you use Native American mythology. Is in a day and age where there's a lot of talk about cultural appropriation, and I'm just going to set you up for better success by saying, as the Native chick on the call, did you have somebody who was Native who worked as a consultant? Did you do work or anything to like?
Did you not see our lead actress?
She's half.
But
Native.
I don't make assumptions about people's.
Yeah, well, that's funny.
After
that movie came out, we've been called racist and shit. And look, first of all, this is a line from Luke. Ever since Dances with Wolves came out, everybody's part Native American. It seems like everybody claims that, hey, I'm 148th Native American or whatever. But those stories have to be told. And Spearfinger is a story that is real, that's not been told. And it's something that we experienced while we were ghost hunting, looking for Spearfinger in North Carolina. And where we shot most of the movie, or a lot of the movie, was where Spearfinger walked. And on that investigation, we experienced what I believe is something that was either Spearfinger or something that was purporting to be Spearfinger. And even though I'm a white man that lives down in Tennessee now, Spearfinger is part of the boogeyman stuff. It's a bad it's a bad guy. It's a bad guy. The Cherokee killed her. So and it's something that we talk about. So even though, and this is what I think America should be walking towards, is Native American history is part of my history because we're American. And I don't want to steal it, and I don't want to profit off of it. But it is because I'm a neighbor and a friend and a fellow countryman of these people. Her story is part of my story since I'm located nearby. And we've been in the woods. Watch out for Spearfinger. And the first person ever told me that was Luke. And I was like, what is Spearfinger? And Luke told me. And then we had the idea of the investigation. And the investigation, if anybody doesn't know what Spearfinger is, she's a Native American Cherokee rock golem that has a long obsidian finger, and she can shapeshift. She's like a modern day siren. She can look like your wife or your old grandmother, and she'll stab you in the back, and eat your liver. And
I think it's a cool story, and I love that it's actually like a Cherokee story. But I got to give a tiny bit of pushback that is like, you are two presenting as white dudes who are creating this film and this production company benefiting off of.
Not yet, but we also, Vinny did go into the Cherokee Cultural Center and talk to them about it. We talked to several Cherokee that we know and everything, and nobody had a problem with it. It was the weirdest thing is what we've noticed, and what I've even talked to with one or two of my Cherokee friends and one of my Ojibwe friends from northern Wisconsin, where they have zero problem with it, and it seems like white people are the only ones going, but the Cherokee were like, this is cool. Vinny filmed another opening with two Cherokee young men for the movie, but they just couldn't act, so they didn't make the cut. But yeah, there was another opening filmed with two full-blooded Cherokee in it, and so they loved the idea. They loved it. Everybody I know that is full-blooded or half-blooded Cherokee loved it, loved the idea, didn't mind us using it at all. They looked at it as a different spreading of, almost to the point where they are tired of people kissing their ass.
And I would actually agree with that. As a native, I have no problem with that. Like I said, I really like the film. But beyond that, I do agree that I get sick to death of the noble savage, the looking off and the single tear runs down, hug all the deers and shit. So like we're either that or we're the bad guy in a Western. Never the twain shall meet. Like those are our options. And so I actually thought it was really cool that here's a story that has more nuance than that and like more intrigue. So I didn't have a problem with it either, but I do know that we live in an era of a lot of people jumping at what I think of as kind of cultural shadows.
And this movie isn't for them.
And listen, when people attack Lin-Manuel Miranda for In the Heights, and this is a guy that made everybody in a Hamilton an African American, hey, I get it. But this movement of trying to be fair and decent is going to consume itself, because what's going to happen is I have a heart full of love wanting to make a horror comedy about a bad legend, a Cherokee legend. This person was bad. This was a bad entity that the Cherokee killed off. And we're making a story about it. And if I'm getting a lot of flack from white people who are trying to, that's the thing that kills me, is this really left-wing racism where the white people think they need to stand up for another minority. I don't think that if somebody has a problem with that, they probably should be of that ilk, native, coming at me, instead of some person somewhere being like, I don't think you should make a story about that. Because I think the movement is going to consume itself, because I'm an ally to all minorities. I think that's my thought. We're all Americans. So if something happens to a black person in this country, that's part of my story too. If something happens to a native or a Mexican American or whatever, a woman, someone who's gay, somebody who's trans, that's all of our story. That's what makes this country wonderful, is that we are supposed to appropriate from each other. We came here to become better. And we learned, that's why we're the greatest country on the planet, is because we've learned from each other. We've learned how people are successful, and we've taken each other's weaknesses and strengths, and we've become friends. And truly, there's not really a lot of places like America in the world where we're all on top of each other from all over the world. And if we open our minds and if we have open dialogue, we're going to become better. Because if I make a friend that's a Sikh, or if I make a friend that's Hindi, or if I make a friend that's from Australia, or my mind and my scope's going to open up more and more. So I think we got to be careful with trying to police.
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
Yeah.
But I am now going to flip, and I'm going to ask the guys to zip it for a second. And I want to get
really
the female perspective on something. As a now clearly self-confessed horror film major aficionado, one of the things that as a woman drives me freaking nuts is that we basically, if we're in the good guy camp, our only option is the virgin who lives or the slut who dies. And if we're in the bad guy camp, we're either the pathetic wife that was, or would-be wife that was left at the altar mourning the loss of some guy, or the evil seductress. Like, those are our options in general, very broadly in films. And yes, we could probably find examples that would problematize all of that, but by and large, it's a binary. As women making films in this genre, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that is an accurate reflection of what women in horror films wind up getting stuck into? And B, what would you like to see with your production company happen to change all those things? I don't care which of you goes first. Amber, Tracy, your call.
Go, Tracy. You go for it.
Oh, everybody's pointing at Tracy.
To my view, everybody's pointing down, and I'm like, okay, what's going on?
You.
Okay. My character in this movie that is premiering tonight is a little bit in those stereotypes. Bitter, angry, whatever. But I think that my character in our third movie, Camp Smokey, is going to be completely different and not fit within those stereotypes at all. I like to actively work against stereotypes. That's been like a lifelong goal. I just do that normally. And probably because I can't remember what the stereotypes are for the most part. I'm just like, I do me. And if it's weird, yay. If it's even weirder and everybody's, ew, that's weird, that's even better. So I guess it's a good thing that I'm making movies instead of selling coffee at Starbucks.
Amber, what is your thought?
So I do agree. Like, typically there's like the bimbo that's over sexualized, or the one that's slashed in like the first 10 seconds of the film. I did appreciate about Candy's role in The Hike is it showed her as a empowered woman who is also a little bit sexy, but not overly sexualized. She took a major lead in the movie. She became that person at the end. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, just because I want people to watch it. But I appreciated that approach with Big and Funky, how they decided to empower the woman in the role versus just trying to give her a black or white spot. This is your figure type. This is who you need to be. And I noticed that with this film and how we're casting in the future films, we're not necessarily looking at an ideal person for an ideal body type or an ideal whatever. They're looking for talent, and we're trying to basically break the mold and put people into parts and positions that can show a broader range of skill than a blonde bimbo that's killed in the first 10 seconds or the evil seductress. I'm really excited to see how we're moving forward in that direction in our production company.
Yeah, strong women is definitely a thing with Big and Funky. Both the guys are, ooh, I like strong women, so it works out.
Well, I would say Luke and I are probably feminists. We love women, and I would say Tracy's character in this new movie, she's the second lead. I've never seen a character like hers in a horror movie ever. She's not dolled up. She made herself kind of homely, but she's a strong character. She's the boss of this radio station, and she's hard, but you know that there's a lot of pain underneath. So there's a lot of layers to this character. It's why is this woman
like an onion.
Why is this woman such a hard ass? So it's not just a chick with boobs, or it's not just an evil witch. She's this layered thing that hopefully when they watch WJHC, people will fall in love with her by the end of the movie. And instead of being like, well, that's just
I legitimately cried at the end of her story arc. I teared up sitting in my couch right here. I teared up at her story arc, and I filmed it.
Then that kind of brings me to you guys. So you're self-proclaimed feminists, great, but you are writing, producing, you're creating these films. So what do you see as your obligation to the industry in terms of moving those needles for women? Is that something you're cognizant of as you're writing and creating, or is it you write and create and wherever whatever happens?
I will tell you that a lot of our style comes from our pro wrestling days, and we were comedy heels, which is our bad guys. So we are used to what we love is to what we call putting other people over. I will take a pin from anybody as long as it's funny, makes sense, or makes them stronger. I feel like I do that. We wanted to get a lot more minority representation in our films, congruently, and also to where it didn't matter. Unfortunately, all some of the actors that we booked backed out on us in the last minute. But as far as women go, we don't feel that there should ever be a difference. If you could tell with was watching The Hike, we didn't think there should be a strength level, power level difference between Candy and Vinny. We thought that they should be equal partners. And actually, when the filming went on, Candy took the lead as the strongest role. As far as other representation, and it just naturally and congruently, we cut it out of in the last edit just for time, but me and Travis were a couple. If that didn't come across in the movie, but it was cut out, but me and Travis were a gay couple. And we were out searching for my daughter from a previous. In this next movie, there's a couple more representations like that, but it's also in the next movie, Camp Smokey, there's going to be, it's a throwback to 80s slasher movies with a huge twist in it. So there's going to be some salaciousness, but there's also going to be the strongest female character I've ever wrote, and that will be Tracy.
It is going to lampoon some stereotypes, but that's just because that's what you do with horror movies. Sometimes you make fun of the genre itself. But with this movie that we're coming out with now, and it should be out on Amazon here in a couple of weeks, WJHCAM, maybe a month or so. It was very hard because the station is about a Southern gospel station in the South, which is probably the most white place you could have a movie about. And we were dying to try to figure out how can we get people of color, because me and Luke really care about organically putting people of color and people of different sexualities in the movies, because I think, and I think Luke thinks the same way, I think representation matters. I think kids need to watch a movie and have something they can identify with instead of a bunch of people that are white guys.
I think forcing representation is racist. I think congruently allowing for representation, and like when I write, I think of a person as his character. I think of a person. I was like, this guy is perfect for this role. I will say that there is a surprise character in this coming movie that was the perfect person to play this character, and he's a person of color, and he is the perfect person to play that character.
And it could have been anybody.
So can I question, stroke problematize that just a bit and say the counter argument to that would be, as a white dude writing, your lens on the world is innately informed by being a white dude. So you are more likely to
I grew up on the south side
dudes in.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was the minority. All right. I'm fairly well represented with friends and family.
we can only write from our histories, and I can't apologize for what I am. I didn't choose it. And
no, I'm not asking you to apologize, but when we talk about this whole forced inclusion thing, I think that it seems to imply that that sometimes I think people need a nudge. Right? Let me. People need help being like, "Hey, dude, your film is really freaking white. How about finding somebody not white?"
Well,
like, but I visioned this person as a young white man. It's like, of course you did, because you thought about you when you were writing it, and you.
Let me give you 30 seconds of background on why I feel the forced representation, what I'm talking about. I am part of the group that I get all the commercials, all the TV roles, every single audition is sent to me, and every role that is sent to me is gay. So that's forced representation. I'll play a gay character. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I don't care. But it's every role. When I start seeing that, I'm like, you guys are overcompensating here. Let it go naturally. I was like, this is a commercial for, I'm reading for a commercial for that. The character doesn't have to, the word gay doesn't have to come in for it because it's a 3-second blurb of a guy going, hey. Why does that have to be a gay guy going, hey? So it's,
and what does that mean? What is a gay guy saying, hey? What do you want him to sound like? That's the weird thing.
But no, I said my writing is, like I said, I grew up on the south side of Chicago with, I said, I was one of the few white kids in my area. I was very ingrained, my friendship, my lifelong friends, family members. I know I'm just a white guy looking at it from this point of view, but I've got a lot of experience and a lot of history. And when I don't write character, most of the stuff I try to write is semi-autobiographical, but I think it needs to have more color involved in it. You know,
Amber's been trying to say something, so I'm going to interrupt and give Amber some space here.
So, no, like, my perspective of forced representation is like in almost every horror movie I watch, there is a typecasted Black character that is always killed off in the first 30 minutes of a movie. And every time they've got their obligatory person of color, but they're going to kill them off. And so that to me is more insulting to people of color than writing a character. That person then walks in, okay, you're perfect for this role. And this person lasts to the end of the movie. But no, we have to have this many Black people, this many gay people, and as long as we plug them in, then we're good. And to me, that's the insulting part of it.
It's like with The Walking Dead, when they have 2 Black guys on the show, you're like, well, one of them's going to get killed off. Because it's like they only have space.
Or one of them saved Chappelle, and I think these days you probably wish she had been, right?
Yeah, it's like that's not good. This movie that me and Luke had a conversation, the one that we're just releasing, we need more people of color. And I'm proud to say that in a movie about a Southern gospel radio station, the first 2 out of 3 people you see on screen are people of color. And that's about the best we could do with this subject matter. Now, when we write other things about other cities and bigger towns and things that would make sense, I think the thing that you have to watch out for, Luke and I try. We try to be a good guy, but we're not going to force stuff. The thing that you have to watch out for is they just came out, they just said, there's not a person of color in the next 4 or 5 years in a movie, the movie's not going to be eligible for an Oscar. If you look at a movie like 1917, which was awesome, and it was about World War II in a place there were no Black people, that movie wouldn't be eligible for an Oscar. I think there needs to be more movies that are serious and have a lot of different people, Black, gay, everything else, all the different tropes, and even Native Americans, for crying out loud, because there's not enough stories about Native Americans. And I think that needs to come naturally, and it needs to be a conversation. But I think we have to watch going the other way, where just because, what I was born as, I'm just who I am. I was born in the projects of Baltimore. I'm white chocolate, man. I grew up a certain way. There's different ways that I look at the world than a regular white guy would look at it. But and again, I'm not saying that I'm anything else. But I am I got my foot in the door a little bit.
There's also
face has been speaking volumes, but her mouth has said nothing. So I would love to get some of the dialogue that goes with the expressions that I have been seeing. Tracy, let's weigh in.
My face just does things, and I
It seems like a potential liability as an actress. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have no control of my face. It just does the things.
Well, it actually works out quite well because I just put my emotions and my consciousness into the experiences of the character. Like, I imagine their whole life, and then what would my face do if I had lived their life? So it works.
I'll tell you, she hasn't seen the movie. The one that's coming out tonight that we're going to premiere here in 3 hours.
He let other people
Tracy-
watch it ahead of time, but he wouldn't let
Tracy,
me. And I'm
I
like,
let- I
dude, I
let-
got ADHD. I need to watch
I
it
let
first
Luke watch-
so that I'm not like freaking out. But no,
I let Luke watch it because he's the director of the movie. Tracy kills
Candy-
it. Candy's also part of the. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But anyway,
Uh-huh.
you absolutely
still
kill.
look better.
You got to let that go.
I know.
But I'm trying to give you a compliment here.
I know.
Your first acting job.
Oh, is this your first acting job?
Her
My first
acting-
feature.
Hey.
I've been on stage a couple times, but like
That's
20 years ago.
fantastic.
First
Thanks.
acting job. Let me tell you something about her. That was the only role that that we did. See, me and Luke, for people that we know that can come in and do stuff cheap. And this was the only role in the movie I didn't know who could play this person. So we had people from Mississippi and Arkansas and Middle Tennessee try out for this role. There was over 15 actresses, and some of them were fantastic. And my wife said, give Tracy that opportunity. And I was like, I don't know. Really? Just let her have the shot. So I gave her the words. She did the thing. She did the roles. She did all the parts. And I was like, she's my friend. I wonder if I think it's good. And so I went back to a couple other people. Girl from Mississippi was great, freaking great. And I was like, she's good too. And then there was a girl out of Nashville. And that girl from Nashville was a little too young. But overall, Tracy killed it. And then when it came time to film and edit and create this thing, this role was based on a real person. And when I'm looking at Tracy, and Tracy didn't know this person, I'm looking at this person. And it blows me. It's weird. It's like a time machine going back 25 years. This person's dead. And I'm like, I can't, it's just if this movie gets seen by a lot of people, there will be memes of this character. It is just, she is a mood. Nancy is a
But
mood.
now I'm really excited.
Yeah.
That's actually the best way to put it. Nancy is a mood.
She's a
All to
mood.
her own. All to her own.
So
Yeah.
let's look at all this from a different perspective. So we talked a lot about the creative content and all of that. Let's talk about this from a business perspective. There's been a lot of talk about the effect that the pandemic has had on film and whether or not cinemas are ever going to come back. And if they do, what the hell is that going to look like? And as you pointed out, there's been a rise in some way of independent films. My best friend happens to be a screener for both South by and Sundance, and she says that a lot of independent films, but maybe not a lot of great ones. And so what do you think from a business perspective, where is the market right now from where you're seeing? And is it open season? If you've got any kind of skills and any kind of shops, go for it. You can make some money, or what is your thought?
I would say,
I think that's, for one, Spider-Man reopened the movie theaters.
yes.
Spider-Man, they're reopened. Like, we couldn't even get booked into this theater until midnight on a Tuesday because of Spider-Man. But I think what the business is going to evolve into is they're realizing that people aren't going to go to a movie, to the theaters, to see a movie that sucks. And people pretty much know before the movie opens if it sucks or not. So what this is going to do is this is going to help people like hopefully us and other people that are storytellers, not just movie makers. I think that's the future of, and it's going to be, I think there's going to be more Blair Witch projects, more Clerks, more $20,000 movies that make $20 million because you have better storytellers or better ideas. So there's not a great story to Blair Witch, but it was a great idea.
Yeah.
And Clerks, not a great overall, put it in a cinematic box, and it's a crap movie, but it's a great movie. I think that people are going to realize, as I've said before, you don't have to be a professional songwriter to write a great song.
So just so you know, the Kevin Smith thing is like a religious argument in my household. My husband loves Kevin Smith. He has seen, he went to see Yoga Hosers in the freaking theater. He's that guy, right? If Kevin Smith did it, my husband is freaking there.
So he's the one.
I am the girl that likes chasing Amy,
Uh,
and that's about it. Like,
well,
I
it's
am-
again, it's you get it or you don't. It's with Kevin Smith, you get it or you don't. You
it's
know?
not that I
And
don't get it. It's just that it's not funny.
Right.
In my world.
I'm hit and miss with Kevin Smith. Clerks, Mallrats, Chase. It seems like it's a downward. It's like M. Night Shyamalan. It came out with like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and it kept getting worse as it went. So yeah, nowadays with Kevin Smith, people are like, you need to see this. I'm like, yeah, I like him though. I like him as a guy. But I don't. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm old. I'm 47 years old. I have no idea where the business is turning. We're trying everything from four-walling cinemas to go into conventions to try to build, like me and Luke basically said, we're going to make 6 movies about the Smoky Mountains. And they're either going to be horror comedies or horror comedy or whatever combination. And we'll just do them as cheap as we can. And hopefully we will build a following. And we have a nice distributor who's an honest guy. And he's basically saying, he goes, you've got a lot of talent there, because the big and funky umbrella is not just me, Luke and Amber and Tracy. We have drag queens, we have comedians, we have magicians, musicians, pro wrestlers, all actresses, furry.
The greatest horror host in America, Hack from Hack's Horror
Yeah,
Show, is part of it.
Absolutely.
So we've got all this talent. And so what is valuable is not just Luke's ideas or my ideas, but the entire group as a whole. And we're a family. We argue with each other. We get angry. I have had to send flowers to Tracy's mother after podcasts. Tracy will we do a podcast every week. There's been several of her guests that have left and had to take Xanax because I've given them a panic attack. But because me and Luke are bad guy wrestlers, but the whole thing is, we're hoping that somebody looks at what we produce for $5,000 or $10,000 and goes, well, if we give these guys $1 million or $500,000 for a movie, this may be something. The goal for us is just to all be our full-time job, because I think Luke is an excellent storyteller. I think I have some really good ideas too. And these other ladies who they have came on, and they had nothing to do with the hike. They came on with WJHCAM, and they've been a valuable asset. And you have to be a jack of all trades. And they can hold the camera. They have ideas. They can write lines for the actors. They can act themselves. They can promote. Amber's in the PR and Tracy's the producer of the podcast. So you can't be a one trick pony, really. And we have a bunch of really badass people on our team. That's what I'm excited about. I can't wait for them to see this movie tonight. They're going to blow themselves away watching themselves on screen. They're going to be so impressed.
So I've got a question for Tracy then on that note. You just talked about all of the ways that cinema is changing and that it may or may not be on the big screen. As an actress, this is your first feature, right? There's big actressy dreams, right? Who hasn't practiced that Oscars acceptance speech in the mirror of the bathroom at least once? So what is for you, knowing that film is changing, how does that impact where you want to go as an actress and where you see all of this taking you?
A little bit of background about me. My husband has brain injuries, and not a lot of people actually understand what brain injuries look like and how they present in a person in a relationship. And I'm actually writing a screenplay about that. And I'm hoping to, like, where I hope to go is I hope to get my screenplay in front of Sam Heughan, because I want him to headline that. Don't shake your head at me, Vinny. I know.
Why
it's
Sam
high in
Heughan?
the sky, because he's got like the acting range to where he can do like
you want
the
him
whole
to act?
thing.
Okay. I was like,
want
just
him-
anybody. But
No, I
Sam
want him to
Heughan is so
act.
weird.
Yeah,
It's funny when we talk in private, but when you go out and say Sam Heughan, okay, we bust our
Let her
balls. about that.
finish.
bullying is not a good look for a grown-up.
Or a child? the idea, so writing screenplay with a target in mind,
Yeah.
which
Yes.
to be fair to her, Vinny, is exactly what Big Luke just said that he does. So I feel like you're in a big glass house on that one, my friend.
Well, no, he's made fun of me for 8 years. He's only had a year to make fun of Tracy, so there's some catching up.
You don't want to pitch it to Sam Ewan. Only
But,
Sam
so
Ewan.
Tracy, you as an actress, like focusing on that, not all the
Yeah,
other
sorry.
dreams, not all the other
Yes.
hats, focusing on you as an actress. Where do you want all this to go? Do you want to be on the big screen? Do you want to be headlining, red carpet, all of that? Do you want to be the cast of Blair Witch that walks out and everybody loses their shit because they thought they were dead? What's the hope?
I'm just gonna ride this pony for as long as it'll take me, and as far as it'll go, and I might even name the horse as I go through the desert. I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna go with it.
Oh, the horse's name was Fred. Can I say something about Tracy?
Sure.
God.
No.
Okay. I think after watching this movie, and we've been prepping a little bit for the next movie, I think that Tracy can be probably a premier character actor in major motion pictures, and she could also be a sitcom legend. Like, you could put her on The Office. You could put her on Seinfeld. You could put her on The Greats, and she'd do just fine.
Michelle, I got to tell you, what's so fun for me right now is she does not know. The only two people that know are me and Luke, and our other partner in Tabor City, North Carolina. Candy watched the movie because I needed her advice on something. There's only 3 people who watch this movie. She does not know what she has created, and hopefully we edited it and made a good story. If we sucked, I'm sorry, but Tracy's performance in this is special. And I'm not trying to oversell it, but I'm blown away. I'm happy because she's not in a good place, and we're doing a horror comedy about an event that didn't happen. Tracy Tisdale or Tracy Yaste kicked ass tonight or in this movie, and I can't wait for her to see it. And she needs a win in her personal life, and I think this is definitely a big win.
Yeah, I'm like, want to watch.
Unmitigated.
I want to see her face because people,
do too.
People that aren't watching, people won't be able to watch this until after the premiere of this podcast, I don't think. But they're going to watch this and go, "Oh my God, Tracy didn't see it yet," because she is so good. And I can't help but put over Travis, who isn't ever here. His character in the movie, every time he shows up, I make sure I'm like not drinking because he's a spit take every time you see him. He's like,
yeah. This movie was big for us because we went from having about 14 actors with the hike and really just 5 to having 100 actors in this new movie. But what me and Luke are just ecstatic about is everybody killed it. All of our friends and people that we hired and people, strangers and actors, professional actors, they came in and kicked ass. I can't believe how funny this movie is. This may be, I don't know. I'm not going to say that because I made the damn thing, but it's one of the funnier movies, man.
All right.
I've seen in a long time.
And Danny Whitston wants me to let you guys know that he's going to be at the premiere tonight.
Oh, good. He told me he wasn't. Anyway.
Yes, he's a very famous comedian that's in the movie.
So we've heard all about how fabulous Tracy is at length, which I think is great. And we've heard all about how fabulous the film is at length, which is great.
Oh.
Amber,
It's great.
you have the job of making sure that everybody, not just these 2 guys, knows how fabulous this film is. # no pressure.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about what that looks like. Like, how do you promote this film in 2021? And what does it look like?
So it's definitely different because I've been in promotions and I've done a lot of PR work for other places. And this time is a totally different pony. but it is literally just hustling. It's emailing every news station, newspaper, radio station, getting into podcast groups, continuously putting yourself out there, making yourself sellable, make yourself look interesting, like our product look interesting, to draw people in. So it's just a constant, like the wheel is always going, there's no stopping.
And so do you think, because one of the things I think that has happened as a result of the pandemic, even more so, is that we're already in a place where we're starting to get a backlash against social media, right? Like we've all seen those Black Mirror episodes. We all identified with those Black Mirror episodes.
Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
And then like 2020 hit and we went, oh my Jesus, if I have to look at another goddamn Zoom meeting, like I'm going to lose my mind. So there's all of that happening at once. And yet at the same time, I'll be damned if I know how to promote anything without social media. Is that a reality? Is it just you just have to bite the bullet and assume that social media is your life if you want to promote something right now? Is there a separate secret path that people don't know? What's your thought?
So I do think that social media is still one of the biggest platforms for promotion because you're going to get it in front of the most audience. And the more original content in your posts, the better the algorithms are going to pick you up and put you in front of people. So my goal, whenever I try to do original content or create photos, like something that's original and put it out there. But I've also realized since the pandemic, you have to step outside of that and think outside the box, which is where it's like almost like going old school. You're going like door to door, but which I'm just emailing every single person I can get a hold of. And then a follow-up and then another follow-up within a certain amount of days, just so I keep us in front of them. And then they're like, oh, wait, maybe we should check them out. They're pretty persistent. Let's check them out. Or they're persistent. I'm going to delete them or block them. I don't really know what happens. But utilizing all of the avenues, not just social media, because social media definitely is huge, but there are other ways to get your name out there for sure.
Is there one platform that you have found that has the best ROI for this for you guys? Or is it a multi-platform approach that works best? What are you finding?
So we do use Instagram and Facebook. I think we do have a TikTok maybe, but I'm too old to figure out TikTok, so I'm not that cool. But Facebook seems to be where we're getting the most traction between that and YouTube. So whenever we do our podcast live, we're also live on Facebook, on Vinny's page, and I think also on the Big and Funky page. We're trying to blast it out at one time between YouTube and Facebook to try to get as many eyes on us as possible.
The one thing, if I could jump in real quick, because before she took over, I was in charge of it, is one method behind our madness. Me and Luke are about edifying people, our friends.
Mm-hmm.
We want what I would like to happen after the check clears, is I would like everybody to supersede me and Luke and go do awesome shit outside of us. That's what I would like to do. I would like to build the people up and where they pretend like they don't know us when we're sitting there at the Oscars going, hey, let us in. And they're like, I don't know you. I would like that to happen. I would like to.
Never seen that before in my life.
Yeah. I would like, oh, that's a guy from Tennessee. Don't let him in here. He's got
really
diseases.
dodgy. I would check him for guns and drugs.
But what we're using now is the fact that some of us have followings with wrestling. Some of us are magicians. Some of us are drag queens. Some of us are this, that, and the other. And hopefully our fan bases, multiple of us have little tiny TV shows. And hopefully that will scoop in the attention for these projects. And so it's, instead of me and Luke going, please watch our movie, it's a force field of people. And then it's like, man, this is actually going crazy. But again, social media sucks because I got people to this day. I've been wrestling for over 15 years and people are going, you're a wrestler? And I'm like, dude, I post the matches online. What are you talking about? So there's got to be something somewhere in between the cracks. Nobody's watching television anymore. It's a real funny time. Nobody listens to the radio anymore. So finding print media is dead. Just trying to get the name out there is tough. She's got to work that out for it.
Historically, with independent films, what a piece of conventional wisdom was you need to get it into one of the big festivals. Like you get it into Sundance, everything's good. My friend that is a screener, just so you know, does documentaries. She's not your people. I have no hookup for you. But
Right.
but that historically, that was the wisdom, right? That if you have a great film, you get it in to one of the big shows, you get into South by, you get it into Sundance, you get it into whatever, and then that's your watershed moment. Is that still
Well,
the thinking, or like are
Because
those things still part of it?
COVID
It's a
has
goal.
COVID has jacked up film festival stuff, and a lot of stuff is online now. So if we get accepted, the Hike has done very well with film festivals, but if the film festival is an online event, nobody's watching it. It's just a name on it. So even now, festivals to some degree have been affected negatively, and there's not a lot of great film festivals for horror comedies or. So Luke has written a story. It's the 6th story that is a serious, but I think this could be a big budget movie with people that's what we're waiting for, is to create this, to have enough money and investment to create this 6th movie. And that's the one, because he's been told by people that have signed the ADR and read this treatment that this is one of the most unique ideas for an undead movie that has ever come out. And that's the one we're waiting for to be like, okay, let's push this one into Sundance. We'll do this one, go to the Smoky Mountain or the Knoxville Film Festival or something like this, or somewhere over in Uzbekistan or whatever. These horror comedies can do well in these things. But the last movie, The 6, I think is going to be the home run shot to break out into getting people going, oh, this is something else.
Yeah, because we're huge in India. I don't understand it.
Well,
And
huge in
we are
Gabon, Africa too.
Gabon, Africa, and India. We have.
Yep.
I mean, they actually took the Hike, illegally downloaded it, put Hindi subtitles on it. It's got. You can't even count how many downloads it has. It has so many seeds and leeches and all this stuff. I'm like, I have a feeling that we're going to go over to Gabon, Africa one day, and there's going to be like a billboard of Travis in a dress holding a Pepsi, you know, and
I hope
Tracy,
so.
you look like you had something you wanted to say about the whole film festival thing.
The film festivals are definitely a goal, and I also wanted to say your friend who's a screener, she knows the people who are screeners.
Ooh,
for
there you go,
that
Tracy. I like that.
honey.
I like
Like,
that, Tracy.
Network. I'll crochet you a hat.
no what, Michelle. What we've always prided ourselves on, and this has been since day one with pro wrestling all the way through the paranormal show to everything, is asset management. If you look around a room, if somebody says, all right, Luke, you're in your room, make a movie, I could do it with just the things in my room. And then you go outside your room and say, wait a minute, I got this. Wait a minute, there's a lawnmower. Wait a minute, I got a shed. Wait a minute, I got a dog. Wait a minute. And you instead of writing around what you need, you write around what you have. And that, when you do that, then you start realizing, wait a minute, I have friends. And these friends have friends. And these people have, this guy has a fan following, because we run in D-list, F-list circles of independent pro wrestlers, comedians, one of
drag queens.
Yeah.
Failed gubernatorial candidates.
I feel like Kenny is very focused on drag queens this evening.
He loves
On
drag.
behalf of drag queens
I will tell you that
Vinny and Luke are not good role models for drag queens. Your shaving game is not nearly.
I will tell you that Demetria looks great in this movie. But no, what I'm saying is the people we make movies for are not squares. They're not stiffs. They are people that are outside of the box, people that are a lot of fun. And we know those people. We know some B-list celebrities that are in our genre. We're making movies for our niche so they can spread the word around to the people they know. And that's how I think that these movies are going to get seen more. The Hike's got a lot of views on Amazon. And I don't know as many people as watched that.
I was definitely one of them. My husband has now been one of them, and all of our friends, because we like I said, we are all of our friends. It's exactly what you're saying. We're all the horror comedy aficionado types. There's one that they had loved before that was something. Oh, it's about a tire. It's a French.
Rubber.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rubber. Oh,
Rubber. Oh, that movie is fantastic.
Rubber's so good.
Rubber is the
yes.
worst, but they
It
love Rubber.
is
They
so
liken
good.
the hike to Rubber. So there you go.
Yes, that's the
Yes,
now if somebody now if one person somewhere would be like, the hike is the new Manos Hands of Fate, we're gonna be in it.
That movie sucked, man.
All right, we are out of time. All of the links to everything will be in the show notes. So everybody will be able to find all of your fabulousness. And normally I say something like, what's one last thing to say? But I know if I said that to you, we'd be here another 30 minutes.
You would.
We've got a premiere to get to in Pigeon Forge.
Indeed, I don't want to keep anybody from their premiere. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This was phenomenally entertaining. So thanks, guys.
Thank you for having
All
us.
right.
Thank you.
The Hike on Amazon Prime.
She's
Absolutely.
going to do it. She said she's going to do it.
You've been listening to Hey, I Want Your Job. For more information on how you can get your own awesome job, visit ONH Consulting at www.onhconsulting.com. We offer incredible resumes, no-nonsense career advice, and real-world tips for landing a job in today's market. Check us out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Insta for more insider information. Soon, you'll be hearing us say, I'm Michelle Olivier, and hey, I want your job.